For this case study, we're going to focus on a client. His name is Ethan Thomas. He's 6 years of age. He was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. His behavior of concern is tantrum. Tantrum can be further defined by any of the following: lying on the floor, flopping, crying, and or kicking. This case study focuses on verbal operants. Verbal operant can be defined as the units or elements of communication that collectively inform our use of language. The different examples of verbal operants include tact, intraverbal, mand, textual, taking dictation, and echoic. When we think of tact, we can think of labeling. Intraverbal, we can think of conversation, so your response is dependent on the verbal stimulus of another person. For mand, we can think of command, so you're getting the person engaging in verbal behavior is getting their needs or their wants met. So asking for water and receiving water. Echoic, we can think of that as just repeating or echoing. I say cat, you say cat, you're echoing my verbal behavior. Textual, we can think of this as written words to spoken words. So I see cat written on a piece of paper and I say cat. That would be an example of textual. And lastly, taking dictation, spoken words to written words. So hearing the word cat and then writing cat. Focusing on our client Ethan, we worked on identifying friends and family members. So we worked on tacting, labeling friends and family members that he had a close relationship with. So the stimulus class would be considered people. And the way we went about teaching this was, our first step was using note cards with pictures. So in kind of like a DTT setting, we would have 5 or 6 note cards with different pictures of people he was close to. For example, mom, dad, and some of the friends that he played with frequently at the clinic, and then the therapist that worked closely with him. And we would lay out 3 of the cards and ask him to point to mom or show me Hudson. Once he mastered out of the pictures with the note cards, we moved on to physically identifying friends in the clinic. So we would be, for example, in the kitchen, and I would say, point to Sydney. And Sydney was a friend that was listed on the note cards. So he had already mastered seeing a picture of her when we wanted to see if he could take that and be able to identify the actual physical person, Sydney. Once he mastered out of that, we had him go to said person. So there would be a group of us in the kitchen, and we would tell the client, go to Haley. And out of all of the individuals in the room, he would have to scan, find Haley, and go to her. And if he did so, we would give reinforcement. If not, we would show him Haley. Say, this is Haley. Derived stimulus relations. So in this example with Ethan, we taught Ethan the names of individuals through using pictures first. So we can think of this as point A. Then we use the physical person and to determine if Ethan could name the physical person after he had mastered out of using the pictures. And we can think of this as point B. So we explicitly taught points A and point B. Point C in the derived stimulus relations, we didn't explicitly teach Ethan to ask the name of unknown people, but he eventually, when he didn't know the name of somebody, that a new novel individual, or somebody that he didn't work closely with or wasn't close with in the clinic, he would ask the name of the unknown person. So that is a little bit of. So that concludes case study number 3 and our client Ethan Thomas and teaching him the verbal operant of tacting. That was just one example of teaching a verbal operant, specifically tacting. But as we learned in the presentation, there are many other forms of verbal operants.